Climbing Kilimanjaro was one of the most unforgettable experiences of my life, and packing the right gear made a huge difference. I watched hours and hours of vlogs and read every blog and guide that I could find to try pack as perfectly as possible. But here's the thing, you do not need to go overboard or spend a fortune to be well prepared. So I'm going to break it all down for you, share what I pack, and also give you some advice on how to pack smart, stay comfortable, and enjoy every step of the way. So to break it down, I've organised everything into 5 different categories: clothing, gear, toiletries, technology, and some miscellaneous. I'm going to share every single item that I packed, and I'll point out the bits that I didn't end up needing or using. And then at the end, I'll also share some of the items that I wish I had brought. So let's start off nice and easy with clothing, and I'll jump right in with underwear. So I packed 6 different pairs of underwear. These are just some like sweat wicking exercise underwear from Decathlon. Every guide you'll see or watch or read will tell you to pack less underwear than the number of days that your trek is. And the only reason that I can think that is just to keep weight down in your duffel bag. But it's honestly fine. Like, you get very used to just re-wearing sweaty, like smelly clothes. It's just part of the experience. Then I brought 2 sports bras. For these, make sure they're really comfortable, because you're already struggling to breathe the higher you get up the mountain, so you really don't want like a super tight, constricting bra on. I brought 1 pair of nice warm fluffy socks for at camp, and in total I brought 7 pairs of socks, and that is broken down into 4 day-to-day hiking socks. These are from Decathlon and they're my favourite. They are my go-to hiking socks for all occasions. They are really nice and warm and comfortable, and I've also never gotten blisters in them. They don't have like annoying toe seams and stuff. They're really affordable, so that's a great option. And then for summit night, I had 2 pairs. So I had these thinner liner socks, so just nice and thin, and a really warm pair of woolly socks over them. And my toes and fingers were definitely the coldest parts of me on summit night, so I'm definitely glad that I layered up the socks. Next then we will look at trousers. So I had 2 different pairs of hiking trousers. These were my sort of thicker, warmer pair for summit night. These are Revolution Race. I got them on sale. I think they're great. I love the colour. Then I had a second pair of just like a much lighter pair of trousers. These aren't the exact pair that I wore, because I did actually donate them to the porters at the end of our trek. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then I had 2 pairs of base layer leggings. So this was the pair that I wore under my hiking trousers for the last couple of days of hiking and for summit night. And then I had a second pair that I wore to bed, and I also donated them. One of the main things for all of your clothes, but especially the base layers and anything that's going to be touching your skin, is you do not need to go crazy and buy the most expensive brands out there. But what you do want to check is the material that they're made with. So you want to avoid cotton at all costs for everything that you're buying for the trek. Cotton basically doesn't allow your sweat to wick, so it holds the moisture really close to your skin, and that's what will make you colder. So if you see nice cheap options, these are from Lidl, and I just double checked what they're made of. There's no cotton, it's all synthetic, and they did a really good job. Then we have t-shirts and tops. So I had 4 pairs in total. There's 2 t-shirts, 2 short sleeves. These are both from Decathlon. One is a Decathlon hiking t-shirt. One is just like an exercise t-shirt. Again, they're just the right materials. They did a good job. And then I had 2 long sleeves. One from Decathlon, one from I don't know where. I've just had this for a long time. So you don't need to go out straight away and buy a whole load. Check what you have. And again, the main thing is just checking there's no cotton in it. You just want to get the right materials, and then it'll do a good job for you. And then my mid layers. So I have this one from the North Face. I do love it, but I got it on sale. I did not pay full price. It is, they have some name for it. If I can find it, I'll put it on the screen. But basically the material and the way it's made helps trap even more air on your, like against your skin. So basically that's why layering is perfect for hiking, because every layer you add traps a little bit of air between your skin, and that adds to the overall insulation. So this was a great lightweight mid layer for lower down the mountain when I was kind of warm, but I wanted long sleeves for sun protection, and then a warmer fleece that I could layer on top of it. Again, this is just something I had before It's from Lidl again, and I just checked what it's made of and it did a great job. And also for anything you are buying new, make sure you wear it in. Like breaking in any of your hiking gear is really important, but I literally mean everything, like break in your socks, your t-shirts. Make sure they're comfortable so you can find like the itchy tags and take them off. Because the last thing you want to do is have to deal with that when you're on the mountain. Then I have my hard shell. This is a waterproof jacket from Decathlon. Again, I have a lot of stuff from Decathlon. Really great quality, I love it, and it's much more budget friendly. So I picked up this raincoat with Kili in mind, but I bought it quite a number of months beforehand so I could try it out, and it's just one of my day-to-day items as well. What I was looking for was good waterproof ability and breathability, because I tend to overheat. I get really hot and sweaty when I'm hiking, so I didn't want a layer that was going to trap all of that moisture. And these have a handy little pit breathing zip, which is a fun little feature. Oh yeah, and where possible, I will put a link below to any of these items so you can pick them up for yourself if you want. And then my last big clothing item is this massive, gorgeous fleece. So I had this at the camp to stay really nice and warm and cozy. So it's fleece, but it's also lined on the inside, so it's super warm. It's also massive, as you can tell. So I waited until I had my whole duffel packed to make sure I had the space for it. So I just like squeezed it off and put it in a stuffed sack, and it didn't take up much space in the end. And I had the weight left, so it was okay. I got this from Cloak Vintage, and it was so good for at the campsite because it's just so warm and cozy. And then I did also sleep in this when it got colder during the night higher up the mountain. Erica from the future here. Just really quickly, I forgot to mention that I also rented the really big warm puffer coat from my tour provider, Follow Alice, because it's not something I already owned, and it would have been a very expensive item for me to go out and buy, so it made much more sense to rent it from them. Plus it meant then our whole group were matchy in our coats, which is very cute for the photos. So that wraps up all of the clothing. Okay, next a rundown of my gear. So let's start with the bags. This was my day bag, so essentially it's a bag that I hiked with every day. Again, it's from Decathlon. It is a 30 litre, and I think they recommend sort of between a 25 and a 40 litre. Depends on what you have, what you plan on carrying yourself. And again, break in your bag, like get it in advance, hike with it as much as you possibly can, wear it around your house, put loads of weight in it, and make sure it's comfortable. Strap it on properly and like really make it fit your back and your hips nice and comfortably. If you're going to go out and buy a new bag, some things to look out for are a water bladder pouch so that you can drink from your water bladder while you're hiking, because you're going to be carrying about 4 litres of water every day. The ladder is definitely just the best way to do that. A hip strap so that you're not carrying all of the weight on your shoulders. And then, not an essential thing, but what I really liked about this bag is how many little pockets it has, and that they are all accessible while it's on your back, so you don't have to take it off all the time. So I could have my phone and my snacks and my sun cream and my lip balm and any things that I would want access to while I'm hiking without having to stop in these handy little pockets. And then your big duffel as well. This is also from Decathlon. A lot of people we'll see will have the North Face big duffel. It's the most common one and it's great. It is waterproof. This is waterproof as well, and it was a little bit cheaper. I actually still have my tags on from the airport. So this is a 100 litre. Again, you can range, I think they say, like between 80 and 100 or so. Depends on how big the items are that you're going to pack. The most important thing is the weight limit of what you can put in this duffel. So this is what the porters will carry for you from day to day, from camp to camp. So when I trekked, the limit was 17 kilos, but that had to include the sleeping bag that we were being provided from our trekking company, Follow Alice. And they said that their sleeping bags range between 2 and 3 kilos because they're really nice, warm sleeping bags. So when you're packing at home, if you're planning on getting a sleeping bag there, or if you're planning on renting any other gear when you get there, make sure you account for that. I came in well under, I think I was like 12 or 13 kilos, including sleeping bags. It's definitely possible. Then packing into the duffel and my day bag, I used loads and loads of little stuff sacks and dry bags. We got really lucky with our whole trek. It didn't rain on us at all. So nothing in our bags got wet or anything, but it is possible. So to be extra careful with what's going into your duffel, a lot of people recommend using these, and it's also just a great way to keep it organized because you're unpacking and repacking every single day from one camp to the other, and if they're all different colors, you know exactly where everything is. And then with that, just bring a load of extra Ziploc bags. These were just great to add extra things in as things got less organized. So things, as days went on, you could put it in. I had my snacks in one of these. I had my used toilet paper from on the trail because I wasn't going to leave it just on the ground like a lot of other people seemed to do. Carry it back to camp and put it in the bin at camp. So they're just like a handy little thing to bring. Okay, I'll go to footwear next. So obviously one of the most important things, hiking boots. These are a pair of Keen hiking boots. I have 2 Keen boots now. I love them. They are really good and waterproof. I actually bought these specifically for Killy, but again, I bought them way in advance and I broke them in. I was wearing them every single day, walking the dog to make sure they were the most comfortable pair of boots. And yeah, I didn't get a single blister. So it worked. If you are going to invest in some new gear for Killy, boots is one of the places that it might be worth doing just to get a good waterproof boot. Again, our conditions were really dry, but it can get quite wet. Nobody really likes soggy feet when you're hiking, so that's one place that might be worth investing in. And then for at the campsite, you want another pair of little shoes. I just had these basic ones because it's what I was bringing with me for the rest of our trip to Tanzania. One of the things I would swap out is this actually, because I would prefer something that was much easier to slip on and off when you're climbing in and out of the tent in the middle of the night to go toilet. So something like Crocs would have been better. Hiking poles. See, my Ziploc bags came in handy because they were filthy. I actually haven't used them since. So all of this dust is Kilimanjaro dust. It's also worth, if you've never hiked with hiking poles before, again, get them in advance, try them out, get comfortable using them. Some people in my group didn't use them at all, some people did. I especially loved them for summit night and also for the crazy descent. They definitely came in handy. Again, you don't need to buy anything expensive. These are from Lidl. So what's great is if you book your trip a while in advance, like we booked it a year out, you can pick things up gradually as you see them. So when Lidl happens to have a camping section whatever week or hiking section, you can pick up the bits that you need. Okay, also for at the campsite, we were getting sleeping bags from our provider and they also provided sleeping mats. So the 2 things we brought were a little inflatable pillow and a sleeping bag liner. So the liner adds a little bit of extra warmth to your sleeping bag, but it was also from a kind of hygiene perspective. Our sleeping bags weren't in any way dirty, they seemed fine, but it was just nice for having this little extra layer, especially up around my face. That was just nice to have. You want a headlamp. I went for a rechargeable one and I had loads of portable batteries, which I'll get to. So I knew that I'd have plenty of battery for summit night. If you got a battery powered one, bring some extra batteries so that you can pop them in before summit night to make sure that it doesn't die on you. Then for water, so I went for a 3-litre water bladder and a 1-litre Nalgene. So this was filled every single day for our hike. And then the Nalgene, you can also just fill with water for drinking throughout the day. It was nice to drink from at the campsite or during the night. It's also, the Nalgenes can be filled with hot water. So that was one of the reasons I specifically wanted to bring it, so that if it was especially cold any nights, fill it with hot water, put it in my sleeping bag, and it would act like a hot water bottle. It was never actually that cold that I needed to do it in the end, but it was nice to have it there just in case. And then for summit night, your pipe of your water bladder will most likely freeze because it gets so cold. So that's why you rely on this, and they'll probably fill it with warm water for you so that it doesn't freeze as quickly. And the tip that they give is to put it in your bag upside down because it freezes from the top down. So if you put it this way, it'll freeze at the top and you won't be able to drink any. Okay, some accessories. I had a sun hat, which I never usually hike with, especially in Ireland. We don't need it, but it came in very handy. Then I had 2 beanies. So this was my slightly lighter hiking beanie, and it's from the Hike Life. So this was just a lighter one to hike in, and then I also knew that this would be getting kind of sweaty and gross, so I had a second one to change into when I got to the campsite. It was extra warm and cozy and it was clean until summit night. Then I wore this one because it's extra warm. I also had a pair of gloves. So these are just a light pair of gloves for when it was slightly colder in the last few days of hiking, and then I rented a pair of much thicker, warmer snow mittens to wear over them for summit night. And then I had 2 of these buffs. So again, similar to the beanie, I just decided to bring 2 so that one was my kind of gross hiking one, and then the second one was a cleaner one for around campsite. And then I was glad to have the 2 on summit night because the most annoying symptom I had of the altitude was that my nose was running constantly. So I had the second one of these in my pocket, really handy to get to like blow my nose every 10 seconds. Pair of sunglasses, a little microfiber towel. So you want to go microfiber because otherwise it won't really dry out much when you're at altitude, and it's just for when you're washing your hands and your face around the campsite. When you get your warm bottle of water and soap for washy. Then also for sleeping, I brought two things. So an eye mask, because there can be like lights and stuff around the campsite, and also some loop earplugs because it can be a little bit loud. Weird thing that I wasn't prepared for. I probably should have practiced sleeping with those on. So basically how I slept every night was my beanie on, my buff over my mouth, my eye mask on, and the earplugs in. So when I inevitably woke up in the middle of the night, it was like a weird sensory deprivation, and I'd panic for a second being like, where am I? I can't see anything, I can't hear anything. So it might be worth trialing that when you're at home in a safe environment so you don't freak out. And then I also brought a shiwi. So I don't tend to use this much. I didn't use it much on the mountain because I'm just much more comfortable squatting to go, but it was a nice to have. I did use it a couple times. So if it's something you already use yourself when you're out hiking and camping, definitely bring it. Or if you're not comfortable squatting and you want to try it, get one and then practice with it as much as you possibly can. Just practice in the shower and then go for a hike and practice out in nature. Just get really, really used to using it, because otherwise you won't want to use it when you're on the mountain. That is all of the gear and accessories. So there are some more gear pieces that I don't have because, as I said, I chose to donate them to the porters. I donated one of my base layer leggings, my waterproof trousers, my lighter pair of hiking trousers, my poncho, and my gaiters. So most likely on the last night of your trek, when you're doing your tipping ceremony with your crew, you'll also have an opportunity to do a donation ceremony as well. So everyone in our group chose what we wanted to donate. We had different clothing items and socks. And the group also donated a lot of our leftover snacks. I didn't have many left over, I had eaten all of mine. But they basically laid them all out, gave them all a number, and turned it into a raffle so that every single person from our crew got something. So something I might do if I was to do it again was to bring some extra snacks so that I knew I'd have enough to include in the donations. And maybe specifically some snacks that someone from Tanzania may not have ever seen before. So there were some of our snacks that they were fascinated by, so they were delighted to be able to get some of them. Moving on to toiletries. Start with toilet paper. Our package included a toilet at camp. So each of the camps have their own toilets there that are like squatty toilets over a big hole. They do not smell good whatsoever, so I'm very happy we didn't end up using them. We had a toilet for our group of 6 and they provided toilet paper in that little camp toilet, but for when you're going along the mountain each day, there's no toilets there, so you're squatting kind of behind a tree or behind a big rock and you want your own toilet paper. But as I said, bring a Ziploc bag and carry it out with you. Don't leave it on the mountain. I brought one whole roll and it ended up not being enough, but that was also because of my running nose issue. So if I was doing it again, I would bring more than one whole roll per person. And then before I do a quick fire of my whole toiletry bag, first I want to talk about period products. So the altitude can actually affect your menstrual cycle, and even if you're not due on, you have a high chance of getting your period. That's what happened to me. I got on day 2. So pack some anyway, just to be prepared. And now, quick fire of my toiletry bag. We've got sun cream, wet wipes, dry shampoo, hand sanitizer, packet of tissues, more sun cream, hairbrush, moisturizer, lip balm with SPF, nail file, toothbrush and toothpaste, deodorant, makeup, nail file, and then bug spray and bug cream. And I also made my own little DIY first aid kit. So again, this might be like somewhat personalized. You're going to have your own medication, but just for reference, this is exactly what I included in mine. So I've also put my entire detailed packing list into a spreadsheet, and I'll link that in the description below so you can look at that when it comes to packing for yourself. It might just be a little bit easier to reference. Okay, next category, technology. And again, this is going to vary depending on whether you're planning on filming your trek for content or just for yourself. To give you an idea, this is everything I brought. So I brought a camera for photos, I brought a GoPro which I filmed on, and a little mini tripod to go with it. As you can see, it's now missing a leg, but I just used this for around camp for getting some shots and for getting a night lapse, which turned out pretty cool. I brought spare batteries for them, and I brought 2 power banks and obviously the associated cables. So the reason I brought 2 is this was my main one. It is an OtterBox 20,000 milliamp, and then this was just an old one that I had at home, whatever in tempo is, and it does say it's 10,000 milliamps, but I knew it was kind of old, so I know it doesn't really have that capacity anymore. And the reason I brought two was basically I just wanted to be over prepared, and again I had the weight left in my bag that I could afford to bring two. So this is my main one that I was using to charge my phone, and then I saved this one. I didn't touch it until the evening before summit night, so that if I had ran out of this one entirely, I knew I had this left to at least charge my phone so that I could get like the very minimum photos or videos at the summit, because I was kind of afraid of everything dying before summit night and not being able to capture that. Thankfully that didn't happen. I had loads left over. I was even able to help out one of the guys in my group who had a bit of a nightmare getting to the start of the trek with flight delays, and his portable charging bank was dead when he started the trek, so I was able to let him charge his phone a couple of times. I also brought my smartwatch, but when it died after the first day and a half, I didn't really bother to recharge it. I wasn't too worried about tracking the hiking or everything, but you might want to do that. And then the other thing I brought was my Kindle, so that I could read before going to sleep. I never used it. I didn't read a single page. I realized downtime in the evenings than I expected to. You go to bed really early because you're so tired, and then you wake up quite early. And now for the final category, miscellaneous. So the last few bits that are left over. So obviously you're going to need your passport, and you also need an e-visa. So we printed ours off. We saw online that you can get through Speedier if you print it off, and that did happen. So it's worth doing. I brought a journal. I didn't end up reading my Kindle at all because the little bit of spare time I had in the evening I used to keep a diary of each day, and it's really nice so that I can look back on that. You're also going to need to bring US dollar cash. So that's what you use to tip your crew at the end of the trek. Each provider should give you an idea of how much to tip. It depends on how many days you're on the mountain and how big your crew is, which is determined by how many people are in your group. But I would say bring a little bit more than you maybe think you want to tip, because if your crew is anything like ours, you'll end up wanting to tip them more than you might have thought originally. So that's what happened to us. I only brought a specific amount. Thankfully my partner brought extra, so between the two of us we were able to tip them a little bit more than we originally planned on. So that's something to keep in mind if you're trying to keep your budget for Kilimanjaro as low as possible. Don't scrimp on the tips. It makes a huge difference, and make sure you include that into your budget. And the last one is snacks. So the altitude didn't affect my appetite at all, thankfully. So I ate all of my snacks. I just found this actually in one of the bags, which is the only thing that's left over. So one of the things I brought were these little gels. Made sure that I liked them before I brought them. They're raspberry flavored. This has now gone off, so it'll just go in the bin. So I brought these. I brought a lot of protein bars that I knew I really liked. I brought some chocolate bars, and I bought some sugary jellies. But it's just bring whatever is your favorite thing to snack on, because the idea is that you'll snack on them in between your meals. And it's also helpful that if you do lose your appetite, you might not want to eat the full meals that are prepared for you, but at the very least you might eat some of your snacks. So as promised, I will go over quickly the things that I brought and didn't need versus things I wish I did bring with me. So a few things that I didn't use at all, as I mentioned, were my smartwatch, my Kindle, and my Shiwi. But as well as that, I brought makeup and didn't wear it. I kind of knew I wouldn't, but I thought I'd bring just a little bit anyway in case I wanted to put it on any day, because I was going to be filming. I also didn't use dry shampoo. So basically I had my hair down for the first 2 days, and then I put it into 2 French plaits and just left it in the plaits. When it would get really messy at the bottom, I'd take the plait out up to about here and replat it. And in my first aid kit I had nausea bands, because I do get kind of car sick, and some people had said that the drive to the trailhead can be kind of bad, but I found it fine. And I brought sports tape in case I got blisters, and I was fine for all of that, so I didn't need them either. And then the things I wish I did bring. So I wish I brought my own tea bag. So this is very much just to add a little touch of luxury. They did have tea, coffee and hot chocolate for us, but the tea, you can't beat a proper Lion's tea bag, so it might have been nice to have my own. Also for luxury, some of the people in our group had the little foam sit pads, and that would have been nice for when you're kind of stopping for a quick break along the trail, but also for climbing in and out of our tent. The way it was designed was a little porch area, didn't have a ground sheet, so if you were trying to avoid stepping and crawling through the dust, it was kind of hard to get in and out of the tent. So a little sit pad there would have just made that a little bit easier. As I mentioned, I would have brought Crocs instead of actual runners at the campsite, and that is mostly because it would have just been easier climbing in and out of the tent and slipping them on really quickly to go to the toilet in the middle of the night. I also mentioned I would bring even more toilet roll. I would have specifically brought Vaseline, so I had some Carmex because I know that is really hydrating for my lips. It also has SPF in it. On summit night I actually got chapped nostrils, which I've never experienced before. Was quite uncomfortable, and one of the ways to help avoid that is to rub Vaseline on your nose. I would have brought some electrolytes, so I didn't bring any because I don't particularly like the flavour of electrolytes, and the flavour of the treated water that you'll drink. It can have a bit of a taste to it that people don't like. It didn't bother me, so I didn't bring any electrolytes. I ended up borrowing some for the last couple of days because I just really needed that extra hydration when I was starting to struggle a little bit more towards the summit. Something that I did see in people's packing lists and guides, and I didn't bring because I didn't have one, was a nail brush. And even though I cut my fingernails down really short, they still got like so much dirt under them, and that just really drives me nuts. So you will get washy twice a day. There'll be like a little water dispenser at the campsite for you to wash your hands at as well, but you can't get like a proper good clean. So a nail brush would have just been really nice to get that extra dirt out from under your nails. And then I would have just brought more snacks. As I said, I ate all of mine, so it would have been nice to just have a little bit more spare, and then also to have some spare to donate to the porters. Jambo bwana, habari gani? Nzuri sana. Wageni wakaribishwa Kilimanjaro, hakuna matata. Pole pole, hakuna matata. And there you have it. Every single thing you need to pack for a Kilimanjaro trek without overpacking or breaking the bank. At the end of the day, one of the key things to a successful summit is being as prepared as you possibly can be. But I think it's also packing smart and staying comfortable. If you found this helpful, I would love if you gave this video a thumbs up or subscribed for future adventures. I've got tons of exciting adventure content coming up, from more packing guides to adventure vlogs, so you don't want to miss out. And if you got any questions about this packing guide, about my Kilimanjaro trek, or anything else, drop them in the comments below. I would genuinely love to help out. Or if you want to see more of my experience on Kilimanjaro, I do have daily vlogs which you can check out in my Kilimanjaro playlist. So I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you in the next adventure. Styling. Tazzy can't be in this video. No, she can't. Have any wet. Sorry, Taz. You need attention. Good girl. Good girl. Appetite.